in another wonderful public outdoor space, anticipating reading poetry from our local poet, Sheila Weaver. Many of you know Sheila. She's had a variety of different audiences over the years. She came to the coast in 1992 and went initially to Gambier Island. She was there for 12 years, and much of her poetry is inspired by that wonderful experience. Over to you, Sheila.
Thank you. Since we're just a mere few meters from the ocean, I thought it was appropriate to begin with a song about the ocean. Down by the salt sea water. In a rock-bound pool where the tide is low, down by the salt sea water, I watch barnacles, some swift, some slow, wave feathery tentacles to and fro. Down by the salt sea water, down by the shore, the tide-washed shore, here by the salt sea water. I see pink starfish down in the sea, down in the salt sea water. Could they be aware of me as I stand on the dock above to see down in the salt sea water? Just offshore, the tide-washed shore, washed by the salt sea water. In the clear blue sea of a sun-warm fall, down in the salt sea water, 1,000 silvery fish so small flash as they swim together all. Down in the salt sea water, not far from shore, the tide-washed shore, ruled by the salt sea water. One day when I returned to Gambier Island, I should say that Gambier Island is served by a foot passenger ferry, so it's a different kind of space and energy than if you can just drive on and off whenever you want. One day when I returned to Gambier on the Dogwood Princess II, which was the ferry at the time I'm writing of, the foot passenger ferry, that served the island at that time, a lad of 10 also disembarked with his grandma. She suggested that he walk up the hill with me and help carry my groceries. As we walked, we started talking, and somehow we got to the subject of poetry, and he said he liked writing poems. So when I got home, I thought, I've written a few poems for children, but I wonder if I can write something that a boy would be interested in. And the result was a predatory tale. Spiders and flies, one with long legs, one with big eyes. Orcas and fish, one may make for the other a tasty dish. In river and ocean, forest and field, if you're prey, you must to the predator yield. Thus it has been for thousands of years, so there's no need for pity or tears. Nibble and bite, I munch ants for supper, then bid you good night. Another one I wrote at around the same time, Pies and Pigs and People. Pies and pigs and people, for poems are just right. They perk them up so jauntily. Of pie, I'll take a bite. Pies and pigs and people are all alike, you know, for all go back into the soil to help many new ones grow. That's silly. Pies don't grow, you say. They're made by you and me. But where do you get their flour and spice, or lemons for your tea? Pies and pigs and people someday might be a bus, for the molecules go everywhere that make up each of us. Recently I've become particularly interested in haiku. This is a very old Japanese style that's become popular far beyond the original area. In Japanese, it's written in one line, and we know it most familiarly as 3 lines, maximum 17 syllables. It may be about nature, the seasons, and other subjects, and quite often there's an unexpected twist to the last line. And each poem is so short, I'll read it twice. Hanging upside down, sunflowers ripened seed heads. J2. Hanging upside down, sunflowers ripened seed heads. J2. Does a bear know what comes after cherry blossoms? Does a bear know what comes after cherry blossoms? Remote campsite, pitch dark. Outside our tent, something breathes. Remote campsite, pitch dark. Outside our campsite, something breathes. Aspen trees, pure white trunks. Well, why not? Aspen trees, pure white trunks. Well, why not? Raining, a quick stop in the woods, watering the earth together. Raining, a quick stop in the woods, watering the earth together. And back to the ocean for another poem. Summer sand. A small child created a special place on the sand by the sea one day. With rocks and sand and a smiling face, she built and delved with beauty and grace. But the sea would take all away. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, to leave this place, said she. But the waves crept slowly, one by one, over the sand neath the summer sun. Did the sea folk know and see? Like a slate wiped clean, the grey sand lay when the tide went out that night. But who knows what small folk came to play, drawn by her love, ere all washed away. Did the sea smile too? For I dare to say it filled her too with delight. I've corresponded for a number of years with a friend named Gary Crowder, and for a few years we exchanged poems. And one day he sent me a 4-liner called The Ellipsist. What's that? I ran to my dictionary and learned solipsism in philosophy. 1, the theory is that the self is the only thing that can be known and verified. Or 2, the theory or view that the self is the only reality. From the Latin solus, alone. So Gary wrote, I am the solipsist. There can be but one. Only I exist. I've imagined you for fun. And I added a bit to the title, The Ellipsist, a non-existent dialogue. And I wrote, though I'm just imagined, I received your mail. Well, fancy that. Perhaps thereby hangs a tale. Someone delivered it. Was she imagined too? With an imaginary stamp stuck with imaginary glue in an imaginary envelope. But all that matters not, for God must be imagined too. Eh, what? more haiku, starting with childhood memories.
Daddy's home.
I raced to the bus stop, naked.
Daddy's home.
I raced to the bus stop, naked. On the forest path, I make Mama go first. Spider webs. On the forest path, I make Mama go first. Spider webs. Heat wave. Bottling fruit for winter on the wood stove. Heat wave. Bottling fruit for winter on the wood stove. We had lived with that wood stove for at least 11 years in a small house that was not shaded on the south or west. And fruit and jam were probably not too bad, but my mother did vegetables too, peas and beans, and without a pressure canner, you had to keep them on the stove for 3 long hours. I don't know how she did it. But now to cool you down again, icicles, the cold seat in the outhouse. Icicles, the cold seat in the outhouse. And any of you who have done much boating will know what I'm talking about. My experience coming back from Gambier Island with my groceries. Laden with a week's shopping. The ferry ramp. Ah, low tide. Laden with a week's shopping. The ferry ramp. Ah, low tide. Last one. Resident donkey munches a guest's flowered hat. Island wedding. Resident donkey munches a guest's flowered hat. Island wedding. And I'll finish with another song. My uncle went fishing. If I can get these pages to behave. My uncle went fishing to catch a fine trout with a dum-dilly-dum-dilly-deedle. He got up at dawn and he took the boat out with a dum-dilly-dum-dilly-do. But the fish were not biting, not one could he catch with a dum-dilly-dum-dilly-deedle. 'Twas as if they were saying, for you we're a match with a dum-dilly-dum-dilly-do. So hear all you fisher folk, mark you right well with a dum-dilly-dum-dilly-deedle. Don't bank on a whopping fish story to tell with a dum-dilly-dum-dilly-do. But down in the depths, what do you think they'll say with a dum-dilly-dum-dilly-deedle? About the fine fisherman that got away with a dum-dilly-dum-dilly-do.
Well,
Thank you.